what led to all of this? I mean,
I have
this was kind
thrown
of
a wrench into your
no,
interview.
that's all right. No worries. I mean, it was just, I mean, this was kind of like the MTV Awards. Then there was, what was it that, ho- what led Bob Geldof to get all these people together and then,
He,
and then develop, it just kind of escalated. It was
yeah,
insane.
I mean, and that's what it was. It was never a grand master plan. He wanted to do the Band-Aid single and be done. He wanted to go back to the Boomtown Rats because they had an album that he needed to promote. And instead, what had happened is that he, like a lot of people in Britain, had seen the BBC report on Ethiopia in October of that year. And that, the famine was going on. And the images, at that point, people had not seen images like that on television of children literally starving. It was shocking to him. It was like nobody had seen that sort of thing, and much less thousands and thousands of kids like that. So it stirred him to action. He decided, you know what, I'm going to make a record. And his idea at first, I think, was just to have like a handful of stars. It was just going to be like 5 or 6 people. When I forget who it was exactly, but I remember in that chapter about Band-Aids, Do They Know It's Christmas? There were people who arrived at the studio thinking there was just going to be 3 or 4 people. They weren't expecting everybody. And he was going after as many people as he could, mostly, I think, because he just figured, I'm going to aim as widely as I can so that we can, even if we get like 10%, that's plenty. But he didn't get 10%. He got a lot more.
It's shocking. But
all of them had seen the report too.
Yeah. So
all these people had seen that, were horrified, genuinely horrified. People were not inured to that kind of suffering the way they are now. People now are so used to seeing that sort of thing, so used to seeing the devastation of famine and war and the horrible things that governments do to their own people, that we've become blasé about it.
Yeah.
And that didn't exist then.
So he puts this together. Was it like Bob Geldof's ego, or what was it that's like, okay, we did this, everyone's into it?
No, I would say the opposite. I would say, okay. I would really, so I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead, please. Go.
Okay, yeah, Bob, I don't think ego really fit into this at all. I don't think there was any ego involved. I think it was the opposite. He was not doing this for his career. If he wanted to like tend to his career, he would have ignored it. He was already in the middle of a career slide that he was trying to reverse because he had put out a Boomtown Rats album. There's a footnote in the Live Aid chapter about he had a single called Dave that the American record company made him change the lyrics to because it was a song of empathy for a gay friend. And they made him change the lyrics so that it wasn't about a gay person. And it flopped anyway. He was trying to do things to help his own career in terms of his own career, but they weren't taking. This took off, but it wasn't, I'm positive he did not see this as a career move. And it became very, very commonplace to say that. There was a lot of cynicism because, again, this is beyond the scope of the book. By the late 80s, by the early 90s, you think of like, we're sending our love down the well from The Simpsons is sort of the ultimate parody of that whole era of charity rock, because it became a whole thing. There were all these tours and all these charity records and all these fundraising records, in all genres and all styles. At Pop Conference one year, the year they did it at UCLA, I remember a great presentation. I wish I could remember who it was by, where it was about hearing aid. Do you know about hearing aid?
I vaguely.
HEAR-N aid.
Okay.
It was the heavy metal We Are the World.
That's right.
It's amazing. It's hilarious. And this presentation was just like people's jaws were on the ground. And I was like, I didn't know about that. There's dozens of those, dozens. And they proliferated throughout the second half of the 80s, and people got compassion. Pop music kind of got in, or pop fans, pop intelligentsia, let's say, got a very bad case of compassion fatigue by 1990 or so, because there were so many of these things. So Live Aid and Band Aid and USA for Africa presaged a lot of things. There were tons of those. So it became kind of a fad, and people were just like, we're sick of this. It's all Bob Geldof's fault.